Hey, what's up? What is happening? Alrighty. Ladies, gentlemen, and genetic anomalies. It's not a newbie back again with yet another stream. This one's going to be very, very short. I just wanted to get this one out in large part because of all the breaking news that we've been experiencing. That's why I didn't run the music like I usually do. I decided to do a little bit of something special for the members of my Discord. So today's stream, actually, I'm not going to be using YouTube TTS. I'm actually going to be using the Discord server. So I have an offline chat channel, which is kind of new to the server. So I'll be using that for chat during the stream today. If you want to send a message into the chat and have it read out loud, all you have to do is type a command. It's called TTS. And then whatever you want to say.
Said hey.
And then it plays.
Newbie said hey.
Yeah, and then it plays. So if you just do that, it's a normal message. But if you go like this. Oh, hold on. Sorry. TTS. You go like this.
And said booyah. Note newbie.
Oh, hold on. I got to turn this off. Okay, there we go. There we go. Cool. So now if you send a message, then it'll go out into the chat. It'll be read out loud. You'll then be able to basically participate in the conversation and make sure that if you really want to get a conversation or a message out, it'll be read out loud. Now, if you're not in the Discord, you'll have to go ahead and join the link in the description below. It's dscrd.ntnwb.cc. That'll send you into the Discord. If you're new to the Discord, I'll have to give you a certain badge so you can get into the offline chat. But I basically provide everyone badges. It's more or less just to prevent hacking to the server, which I got raided once with someone who was basically spamming channels. It's a whole thing. But we should go ahead and get down to business because I'm sure that all of you guys know what this is going to be about. So unless you guys have been spending too much time following, I don't know, Wendigoon drama and the fact that they finally found the backrooms photo, which was kind of interesting, you probably have heard that Donald Trump was found guilty on every single thing that he was accused of in the New York trial, which I personally found extremely surprising. I was not expecting this outcome necessarily. I personally thought it would be a mistrial or hung jury. I think it's more likely hung jury just because from what I've seen, especially like from the outset, like a month or two ago, of people talking about the case, I thought that it was going to be a hung jury. Some people would probably be extremely likely to think that Donald Trump was guilty of the crimes that he was accused of. But in general, there wasn't really a clear, I don't know. I think the case wasn't so convincing that they'd be able to get a unanimous vote on that. So the fact that they arrived at this conclusion so quickly was pretty surprising for me. But I did want to go through some excerpts on all of these news articles I've gathered just so we can talk about various facets of this whole situation. So first of all, we've got from Fox News the fact that Donald Trump was found guilty. One thing I found interesting, I don't think anyone else talked about this. Hey, Melanie Landa Verde in the chat. If you join the Discord below, you'll be able to be seen on screen in the offline chat. And also you can use TTS to send messages that will be read out loud. So just want to let you know. One thing I found interesting was that not many people were talking about this, but I've been hearing the 4 years of jail phrase bandied about, right? That like Trump could be facing 4 years in jail. Well, it's not just 4 years in jail. It'd be 4 years per every crime that he was found guilty of. So in total, that would actually be 136 years. So Trump technically could be facing 136 years in jail. Not sure how likely that is, but you know, it is what it is. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Now, another interesting facet of this case is the fact that he's going to be sentenced on July 11th at 10 a.m., which is just 4 days before the start of the Republican National Convention. It says here where he is expected to be formally nominated as the 2024 Republican presidential nominee. So this means that he would be barred from going to the RNC, the Republican Party convention. He might have to dial in. He might have to call in. Now, presumably, he would be under house arrest. I think that is the most likely scenario if he ends up getting any jail time at all. And, it's not going to be that hard to call in to an event like the RNC when you are under house arrest. You just, get a laptop and log into Zoom. It's still going to be disappointing, but it's not going to keep him from participating in the event entirely. Now, one thing I found rather interesting was this quote here. So this is from Stanford's website. They had brought on a former prosecutor, David Sklansky, and asked him a couple of weeks ago some questions about this case. And one of the questions that they asked him was this right here. Actually, hold on. Where is it? Where's the question I'm looking for? Oh, yeah, here we go. So here's the question that Rich Ford asks. David, what do you think about the overall strength of the case and the importance of the case? We've heard from some commentators that this is a weak case. It's a stretch. And we've also heard from some commentators that it's a trivial case. What's your assessment? This is David's response. I don't think it's trivial. It's certainly not trivial politically. That's true. Falsifying of business documents is something that the district attorney's office says is taken quite seriously in New York, and they're right that it's a charge that's often prosecuted. What's unusual about this case is that the falsification of business records is being prosecuted as a felony, and the falsification of business records is only a felony in New York if it's done to cover up or to further another crime. One difficulty with this case is that it's never been crystal clear what the underlying crime is that the district attorney's office is saying Trump's falsifications of business records was designed to cover up or to further. That's one potential area of trouble for the prosecutors here. The other potential area of trouble is tying Trump personally to the falsification of their business records. But my guess is that the jury is not going to find that difficult, because ultimately the jury is not going to think that there's a good chance that all of these people were falsifying business records and Trump didn't know anything about it. Trump doesn't come across as the kind of person who would be uninvolved while other people were falsifying business records. So my guess is the jury will believe that their business records were falsified and that Trump was in on the falsification. I do think that there is a potential problem with the jury being convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that falsification of business records was done to cover up another crime, and Trump's lawyer, Todd Blanche, had signaled in opening statements that one of his arguments will be that even if Trump has done everything he's alleged to have done here, it still wasn't a crime. If I had to bet, I would say that the jury ultimately will be convinced that this was done to cover up another crime, but the theory that they have to follow in order to find that is a little convoluted, and I think that even for most lawyers who have been following the trial, it has been a little difficult to figure out exactly what the DA's theory is. Now, this is a very interesting answer, and it kind of sort of lines up with a lot of legal analysis that I've seen online, kind of leading up to the verdict here in this case. Now, when it comes to like the whole falsifying business records, I personally don't think that he falsified the business records. I think a lot of people, generally speaking, a lot of people are negatively primed against Trump. So they're more likely to think that Trump falsified a business record because Trump is involved than if he wasn't. However, the thing is, Trump paid, basically, the scenario is that David Cohen went and paid Stormy Daniels to sign an NDA. And then Trump reimbursed David Cohen for that. Now, when he wrote down what the payments were for in the checkbooks, it was basically written down as a legal expense. Now, the general consensus among a lot of people in the mainstream media is that this was falsifying the business record because it wasn't a legal expense. It was to pay off Stormy Daniels. I think the thing is, though, is that you're paying someone to sign a legal document. So, in my opinion, it is a legal expense, and a legal expense is very broad, right? It could technically involve anything in regards to money, or like any sort of not money. It could technically involve anything that is involving anything to do with the justice system or anything to deal with legal processes. And an NDA is a legal document, so you're paying someone to sign a legal document that could be viewed as a legal fee. Like, I don't know exactly what the people who think that was a crime and that was a falsified record would want him to write down. Like, should he say NDA payment? Like, it's not clear exactly what granularity Trump would have had to written down this payment as in order for it not to be considered falsifying a business record. And honestly, at the granularity that they would want him to write it down, I'm not even sure if it would even have been effective, because it would have basically laid out what he was paying Stormy Daniels off for, theoretically. And that would just leak the information out anyways, because someone would find the financial record and, that would be that. So I don't even think that he falsified business records, although I do understand that because it's Trump, a lot of people are negatively primed to believe that that's what happened. Now, it's not just the falsification of business records, though, that is at play here. It's also falsifying business records in order to, commit another crime. Now, generally speaking, I think that if you look at the way a lot of people are approaching this case, it seemed like a lot of people thought that Trump was trying to break some sort of law. Now, what people don't agree on is which law Trump was trying to break. And it's kind of hard to back up a claim that 100% Donald Trump was trying to violate some sort of law. Now, I think the primary angle that they were trying to do in this case earlier on, I didn't follow this case all the way through to the end, was that, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, I think the main thing that they were doing at first was saying, oh, well, this is to illegally affect a presidential election. So if you're trying to, tamper with or change the result of an election using certain means, and that's illegal, and therefore that means that you should be, prosecuted for that act. Now, the only thing is that there's no smoking gun at all. There's nothing saying, ooh, there's no like writing on any sort of napkin or anything where Donald Trump was like, ooh, I'm going to, pay off Stormy Daniels so that I can win the election. Like, there was no sort of communication or anything that Trump did this with any particular special aim. I think generally Trump has claimed publicly that he did this to protect his image or protect his family. That's really the most evidence that we have pointing to something like that. And so it's for these factors that I was pretty surprised that, they arrived at a unanimous verdict so quickly. In a unanimous guilty verdict. I thought that there are always going to be enough blowing on people that I don't think Trump would ever be able to be, unanimously found not guilty for any sort of crime that he's brought up under. But this is generally considered the weakest case that Trump is being brought up against, which I think means that there is a significant chance that Trump is going to be found guilty of everything else that he is being prosecuted for, which frankly, hold on, let me do this here. Which frankly is not good news for Trump at all, especially considering that many of these cases are state level cases. They're not federal cases. Hold on, let me see here. All right, there we go. Let me do this right here. And it rolls. Sorry here, just trying to figure this out. My apologies. Give me a second. Okay, there we go. Sorry, the person who was in the YouTube chat just joined the Discord, so I needed to go ahead and give the person the privs. There we go. All right, cool. So now Melanie knows that he or she can go ahead and start talking into the chat. But yeah, so it's a bit strange that they came to this conclusion. I frankly would not be surprised if they ruled the way that they did, just because they figured that eventually they're going to be unmasked, and if they end up being unmasked, they don't want to be attacked in the streets by crazy blue and on people. If you look at the breakdown of the jury, they didn't seem to be particularly biased against Trump. I feel like fear of reprisals from haters. Like there was the case with that one cop who kneeled on that one dude's neck. I think that was a very similar case where it's like, the jury probably arrived at their conclusion because they didn't want to get, a beat down by a mob, but like a Black Lives Matter, or of similar ilk mob. They probably didn't want to get attacked, so they ruled the way that they did. That would not shock me if that's the way that they arrived at this verdict. But in any case, not even on the jury here, just the fact that they kind of stretched so far to turn this into a felony without the necessary basis, I think is not great for multiple reasons. It's very clearly politically motivated. Like we know that Alvin Bragg was campaigning on trying to get Trump in jail, or not in jail, but prosecuted at the very least, if not convicted. So it's all not great, and particularly because I think, frankly, if they dig into this enough and appeal this enough and have enough people dig into this, it'll be quite apparent that this was not done in the proper way, and this very well could be thrown out entirely, and it could end up being a mistrial years down the road. Not anytime soon, like not within the next year or two, but I think years down the road, this might end up being thrown out or have to be retried. They should have just kept this as a misdemeanor, and I think it would have been an easier case to make. Frankly, because of all the stretches they needed to make. But this is not the only angle to take a look at when it comes to this, because now that Trump has been found guilty, we now have to answer the question, well, hey, will Trump be facing some jail time? Now, I looked up this here, deferred sentence, because I have heard of deferred sentences before, but very generally. Now, there are very specific rules when it comes to sentencing in New York, and that's what matters here, because this is a state prosecution, not a federal prosecution. So, let's see here. So, in New York, they don't have deferred sentences. So, what they have is actually, hold on. Do they have a deferred sentence? I don't think they have a deferred sentence. Now, Trump isn't eligible for a deferred sentence, by the way. This is because he pled not guilty. So in the United States, it says here, a defendant must plead guilty to at least one of the crimes they are accused of in order to receive a deferred sentence. The promise of a deferred sentence is often traded in exchange for a guilty plea in plea bargains. So Trump is not going to be getting a deferred sentence at the very least here. Now, in New York, they do have something called ACOD, which is short for adjournment in contemplation of dismissal. What this basically means is if you're on good behavior, if you don't get to any more trouble, particularly legal trouble, then after 6 months, then the conviction will be wiped from your books. This is a possibility. I don't think that this is likely, in part because of how this has been, how this case has been going, and also in part just because Trump is a loud mouth who likes to say brash things. Basically, anytime he gives a speech, a lot of the blue and on people are going to be like, "Oh, he's getting himself in trouble, or he's doing something that is problematic." So I don't think that Trump behaves in a way that even if ACOD was something that would be considered, Trump would be deemed as eligible for, because it'd be unlikely for him to not run afoul of the folks who would be scrutinizing his behavior to see whether or not he is actually in trouble or not in trouble. So this is possible, but I don't think this is particularly likely. Now, some analysts think that it's likely that Trump will be given house arrest. I think I found it in this article somewhere. It said, this is from CBS News. Is Trump going to prison? Want to know about the possible sentence after his conviction. Yes, here, what to expect from sentencing. The minimum sentence for falsifying business records in the first degree is 0. So Trump could receive probation or conditional discharge, a sentence of no jail or up to 4 years for each offense. Trump would likely be ordered to serve prison time concurrently for each count, so up to 4 years in total. I don't know if it's 4 years in total. We did read the Fox News article that said 136 years maximum. The judge couldn't sentence him to anything between 0 and the max, Horowitz said. So he could sentence him to a period of months in jail. He could sentence him to a period of weeks in jail. He could sentence him to a sentence where he is required, for example, to go to jail every weekend for a period of time and then serve the rest of his sentence on probation. Yeah, there's a lot of wiggle room here. In an analysis of comparable cases brought by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, Norm Eisen, who has written a book about Trump's 2020 election-related federal indictment and served as special counsel in the first impeachment of the former president, found that about 10% resulted in imprisonment. So, if this was any other guy, it'd be very unlikely that Trump would be facing jail time here. However, and they note this here, but the circumstances surrounding the case make any across-the-board comparison difficult, right? So because this is Trump, there probably is a far higher likelihood that he will be given jail time. Now it says here Trump could also be sentenced to home detention. By the way, when I say jail time, I'm including house arrest, because if you're under arrest, you're under arrest, right? You're in jail, you're in jail. So I'm including house arrest when I say jail time here. Trump could also be sentenced to home detention, where he would wear an ankle bracelet and be monitored rather than going to jail. Horowitz suggested that a home detention sentence, which walks a middle ground between no punishment and a stint in state prison, might be the most likely outcome. It would also satisfy Trump's unusual security and political situation. That also is true. Now, I do think that, depending on how the judge feels about like the state of the country and how much he cares about how things might go, if he puts Trump in like a typical jail, I think that could change things too. So for example, if the judge is like, you know what, I want Trump to suffer and I want to make the MAGA people mad, then he might put Trump in a traditional jail. But if he's like, you know what, I think Trump deserves jail time, but also we have to consider the fact that he might win the election and we need him to be able to actually perform the duties of President of the United States, and then house arrest, I think, would be kind of the more likely outcome. And actually, I read this already, but that's basically what the analysis was here. A home detention sentence would also make it possible for Trump to continue campaigning virtually, with the ability to hold news conferences and remain active on social media. Throughout the trial, Justice Juan Merton stressed the importance of allowing Trump the ability to campaign and exercise his rights as he seeks another term in the White House. But it's part of the equation that the judge must weigh in his decision. Yeah, so he's already saying like, he's got to be able to campaign at least, which is a good sign. So he hasn't gone all the way overboard yet, but we'll see what happens. In an interview on CNN after the verdict, Trump attorney Todd Blanche was asked if he expected prosecutors to see jail time. I have no idea, Blanche replied. Look, there's a system in place that where you rely on precedent, and somebody like Trump should never face a jail sentence based on this conduct. That is also true. So there's a lot more there that we could get into if we have the time to go through all of it. I personally think that Trump is likely to face some sort of jail time. Wouldn't I be shocked if the jail time stops up until the election, so that if Trump ends up being president, then he ends up, being able to, go to, the Oval Office, go internationally, for, typical visits of various world leaders, all that stuff. That would not shock me in the latest. However, part of me is like, if you looked at generally all of the things when it comes to going after Trump, stopping short of like violence or calling a hit out on him, it doesn't really seem like the Democrats have pulled any stops, right? like every time they'd be like, oh no, there's no way they would do that. That'd be going too far. Feels like the Democrats have always gone that far. So with all of that in perspective, don't put it past the judge to put Trump in an actual jail. Don't put it past the judge to sentence Trump to 136 years of jail time. Would that be extreme? Yes. Would that be strange? Yes. Would that be absurd? Yes. But I think you could probably say a lot of the same things about this entire case. So don't put anything past the judge. I think that's important to do. Otherwise, most people would be taken aback, like many people were taken aback by this ruling. Just do not put anything past these Democrats. I believe the judge in this case is a Democrat. I could be wrong about that, but I think so. Now, I think considering all of this, how far the Democrats have gone, this also brings up another problem, which is that Republicans might end doing the same thing out of revenge. Mediaite published this article here saying the federal CEO calls for Republicans to drop lists of Democrats to put in prison after Trump verdict. It's a Sean Davis. Looks like the egg dude from The Amazing World of Gumball. But here he has a post from X saying, in 2016, the presidential race was decided based on candidates releasing lists of potential Supreme Court nominees. In 2024, I want to see lists of which Democrat officials are going to be put in prison. This is what happens when you cross the Rubicon. So very clearly calling for revenge here. I don't really like this. I know a lot of people are cheering this on the right. I personally think I'm at the very least right of center, if not conservative. But I think that this is frankly too far. We shouldn't be, doing things out of revenge, prosecuting people because we were unfairly prosecuted and all that stuff. But I do understand why people are doing this, right? And some people might be, oh no, that's too far. Well, I mean, Trump has been treated in ways that one could very easily say is too far. If this was not Trump, Trump would not be getting. If this was not Trump, then he would not be getting prosecuted. Point blank. Period. I think that's pretty obvious to the vast majority of people, especially considering his status as a rich businessman who has had a lot of success in the state of New York. It just would not be done. So when you consider the fact that you have Democrats, mostly Democrats, not all Democrats, but a lot of people in this Democratic state using the judicial system to go after Trump because they don't like him, when you put all that into focus, and then you see that those people are successful, what precedent does that set? That sets the precedent that, hey, if you get enough people in a specific state level judicial branch who don't like an individual person for political reasons, that you could just go after that person and convict them for fun. Like that's literally the precedent that's been set here. And so people are going to be acting all surprised that Republicans are going to start doing unjustified lawfare against Democrats. And while I will stand with the Democrats and saying that that's wrong, I'm also going to be pointing the fingers at Democrats, being like, "Where were you when we have all of these politically motivated AGs and judges and justices going after Donald Trump because they don't like the man? Right? Where were you? It's very easy to be like, oh, this is an unjustified prosecution for political reasons when it's someone that you like, right? Like, I don't know, Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton. But as soon as it's someone that you dislike, you treat the situation differently. It's just ludicrous, and I wish that people would take those biased glasses off, and just understand that one of the dangers of going these lengths to attack people that you don't like politically is the fact that could very easily come back to bite you. And that's honestly why I'm strongly anti-authoritarian. I'm not libertarian, but I am a huge small government guy, because whenever you give the government to do certain things, generally speaking, even if that thing is good, that power will be turned against you by the opposition party when they get power in 4 to 8 years. And so the same thing's going to happen to the Democrats. They've been messing around. They're about to find out that when you've green lighted the judicial branch of states to go after someone for political means, then that power is going to be used up against them, because the president never only swings in one direction. It will always swing in the other direction once the other political party has all the power. So it's a shame that we've come to this, but that's the natural result of prosecutions such as this. Now, the last question I think a lot of people have in mind, especially with a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm more likely to vote for Trump now because he was convicted. Or a lot of people who are trying to, keep this in mind when it comes to determining who they're going to vote for. Is this question that is posed by Politico here. Can Trump run for president while in prison? The answer is yes. So it goes down here, says here, this person, Debs, ended up running for president while in jail. And then, of course, there's the more important question, I think, what happens if an imprisoned candidate actually wins? And there's no clear answer on this. Trump's escalating legal troubles are resurrecting that question. He has been indicted in New York for falsifying business records, a state crime that carries a maximum of 4 years in prison when charged as a felony. Many experts contend that even if Trump is convicted, he is unlikely to see prison time because judges rarely sentence first-time offenders to prison for that type of felony. They might actually say, hey, this is not a first-time offense because he did this, 14 or 36 times or whatever. But 3 other ongoing criminal investigations of Trump, one in Georgia for election interference and 2 from special counsel Jack Smith in Washington, could trigger more serious felony charges and carry a higher risk of prison. A Trump electoral victory from behind bars would open a constitutional can of worms, but the general view among legal scholars is that the need for a duly elected president to fulfill the duties of office would override a criminal conviction, require the sentence to at least be put on hold. And if Trump were convicted of a federal crime, he could even try to pardon himself immediately upon taking office, a maneuver that Debs himself promised to undertake if he won. I think generally the law seems to be on the side, right, that Trump could, in fact, pardon himself from a federal crime. It says here, then we're just going to get into uncharted waters. Seton Hall law professor Eugene Mazzo said, I don't think we have an answer to this. And that's basically all he says in that section. So we went over a lot in this video here, and I know that this is a huge situation. And by the time this video goes up, honestly, there might be more developments. I don't know. For all I know, the MAGA people might have firebombed the judge's house for all I know. Hopefully they don't do that. I've been seeing no indications of violence. I've been looking out for them. I haven't seen any, so that's been a very good sign. But one thing I want to know is, what do you guys think? Because I know that this is a very contentious issue. This was very much a legal case in limbo because a lot of legal scholars were like, this is kind of a weak case, especially when you're trying to crank it up to a felony. So I'm kind of curious to see what you guys think. Even if you guys are Democrats, I think there's a chance that a lot of you guys are like, about the verdict. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. I'm very interested in hearing your opinions. All right, so we've got one more thing to go over here, one more topic. This here is actually one of my own videos. So I noticed a lot of libertarians actually found my video talking about the Libertarian Party inviting Trump to stop by and speak and try to convince them to vote for him instead. A couple things to point out. One thing, I was definitely wrong on whether or not this was good or bad for the Libertarian Party. I think one thing I underestimated was that this would bring a lot of eyeballs to the Libertarian Party, and we're seeing that here. If you look here, this week is not over, so the Google trend has not been filled out yet. But the I guess on a scale of 0 to 100, the Libertarian Party is at a 53 of interest when it comes to Google searches for the week of May 26th through June 1st. And if you go back to that equivalent week right here, May 21st through May 24th through May 30th of 2020, They were at a measly 15%, not 15%, but measly 15. So that's 15 compared to 53. That's a big difference. So the Libertarian Party is arguably way more popular now than it has ever been before. Now, another thing too, a lot of people in my comment section were mad. They were like, yo, not a newbie. You really voting for Biden? Man, you're hating on Trump. Trump was the greatest president in the history of America. Let me be perfectly clear, like Obama loves to do so much. I am actually voting for Donald Trump. Now, the reason I criticize him in this and many of my other videos is that I don't think he was a perfect president, and he wasn't even the best pick when it came to the GOP nomination. I think Vivek would have been the best choice, but a lot of people are blinded by their love for Donald Trump. A lot of Republicans and people on the right, I think, are unwilling to hold Trump accountable for many of the things that he did while he was in office. For example, Trump passed more anti-gun regulations than Joe Biden or Barack Obama. I don't see anyone talking about that. I don't see anyone bringing that up. Trump also ballooned the national debt by giving out stimulus checks. No one is saying, hey, did we really need stimulus checks? Do we really need to do that? I don't see anyone criticizing him for that either. So Trump has done things that were bad for the country, I think. Now he still did some great things. He did a great job of maintaining the economy prior to COVID, right? He did some great things when it came to like drilling and fracking, greenlighting the Keystone Pipeline and all that stuff. So by no means do I think that Trump did more harm than good. I actually think that he's probably one of the most successful presidents that we've seen in the past handful of decades. There's certainly people who give him for the money, but Trump did a really good job of delivering on many of his promises. But I'm not going to pretend that he was perfect. So for those of you who want me to pretend that he's perfect, I'm sorry. Just kidding. I'm not sorry at all. Trump wasn't perfect. It is what it is. So yes, I'm voting for Trump, but yes, I'm also willing to criticize him too, because I'm not a MAGA robot who's just going to say that Trump is good no matter what he does. So sorry to disappoint if you were looking for a yes man. But let's go through some of these comments, because I did want to respond to some of these more directly. User Undecipherable says, it does make sense. Consider who they nominated. It is a masterstroke. That also was true. They hired they nominated some like Chase dude who's like a progressive liberal who, yeah, some people were calling him a communist. Just in general, he does not gel with the Libertarian Party as a whole. So he seemed like a poor choice. 1/3 or so of the Libertarians are now without a home. Even if a fraction of them vote their conservative side, it will make a large difference in a couple of states. Interesting. I'd like to know more analysis on that. The other 2/3 may draw many of the disaffected lefties that are side-eyeing Biden. That also is relatively true, I think. Now it says here, the reason libertarians wanted Trump is for the exposure for our party. We can still be a party of principle and be okay with hearing Trump speak at our convention. That's true. My problem isn't with Trump speaking at the convention. That wasn't what made no sense to me. It was not just that, but it was literally in the invitation saying, hey, convince us to vote for you. Like, that would be a strange thing to do. It'd be strange to be like, hey, tell us not to vote for our people. Like, right? Like, it just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. So it was the wording in the invitation that didn't make a whole lot of sense, but I will agree that, inviting him was a W. I was wrong. Whether we like it or not, he is the front runner, not just for the rep nomination, but for the presidency. We're not going to vote for him. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to click that. We're not going to vote for him. We're smart enough to know not to do that. But why wouldn't we want him to come to the convention? We're not advertising Trump, as you said. I mean, you kind of are. You're like platforming him and say, hey, tell people to vote for you. So like you're platforming him to a degree at least. Trump can be advertised. Yes, he can. He is the most famous person ever. Well, yeah, it's like saying Coke can't be advertised because it's the most popular drink ever. Yes, it can be. They literally do Super Bowl ads, okay? Like they still can be advertised, even though they're like the biggest or most famous. Everyone knows who he is. The idea that libertarians having an our convention is going to boost his popularity makes me laugh. I mean, it might make it. I think it did end up boosting popularity among libertarians, considering who they ended up nominating. So not sure how well that sentence aged. If anything, it just confirmed everything we already thought. He isn't a libertarian. He doesn't support our agenda, and he won't get the majority of libertarian votes. That probably is true. But I don't know anyone who went into this thinking that Trump was a libertarian. Like, bro, if you thought Trump was a libertarian, pay more attention to politics. There's no way. Trump is like a mid to big government Republican. There's nothing about that that's aligned with libertarianism at all. It says, but we will take any leverage we can get to sway him even a little bit in a libertarian way. This is good. And if having him at our convention gives us recognition and maybe even a little leverage, we should absolutely have him speak there. If he says things we agree with, parting Ross, we cheer. And if he says dumb crap, I was an anti-war president who took on the military-industrial complex, we stay silent or boo loudly. I mean, mixed on that. I don't. Trump didn't necessarily stand up to the military-industrial complex in a big way. I mean, he didn't set off any new wars. He also had to sandblast ISIS into oblivion. So I don't know, but and he did listen to generals when they were like, "Hey, don't pull out of Afghanistan because it'll end up being a dumpster fire." And Trump Joe Biden ended up doing that exact same thing. So I found that kind of funny. But I mean, he didn't capitulate to the military-industrial complex in a way that a lot of other presidents, I think, would have in the past. Oh, and also a nice word from CJ Giordano here. Also, I am a libertarian for adults only. No to LSD for babies. Okay, nice. Yes, if you missed it, one of the things here I said was, hold on, let me see here. Where's the? Oh yeah, hold on. It's got to be here somewhere. Yeah, here. Hold on. The Libertarian Party would love to do if they had the party, but if they had power, but they also would like to do things I wouldn't like to see, like make it legal for parents to give like babies LSD. That's just not a particular thing I want to have legalized in this country. I mean, yeah, like I think the extreme libertarians would want like babies to be allowed to have LSD. I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not a big fan of that. Chris Stevens says, this clown, I mean, true. Like I bought an Old Navy banana hat because bananas made like pro-Palestinians mad. Okay. I am a clown to some extent. I have to admit that. Heath McDonald says Fauci has been in that position way before Trump, and any lockdowns were state lockdowns. Don't blame Trump for that. You just don't like the dude. I do like the dude. I'm actually voting for him. But that's a really good point. The problem is Fauci went up to podiums and lied during Trump's presidency. So even though, yes, it is true that Trump was not behind the lockdowns, he still gave Fauci more power than he should have had because he should have been fired, right? You can say one thing in your emails and then another thing from the podium. That's not a proper way to behave. And yeah, I did respond and said, I'm actually voting for Trump the 2024 election, LOL, which is true. Keith McDonald said libertarians don't have values, LOL. I mean, they do. It's like no government, basically, right? Let's see here. Von, whoever this person is, Doofenshmirtz, thinks this election will be close. Biden will win in a landslide. Don will say anything, which is funny. I mean, that guy's taking don't believe the polls to an extreme, right? Because Trump is winning at all the swing states. This election will be close, but I think that Trump has the edge here. Leah Mari wrote something interesting. It says here, from the outside looking in, after the fact, it seems to be the libertarians invited Trump just to roast him. 2 thumbs up for whoever invited him. The roast was priceless. Well, I mean, the person who got roasted was actually Libertarian Party, and Trump roasted them masterfully. It was like, oh, you guys want to lose then? Okay, keep on getting your 3%. like Trump delivered some savage burns during this speech, and to the point where like I think the libertarians must have been looking at themselves behind the curtains, like, ooh, we better not do this again. Like, I don't think we'll ever see Trump at another libertarian convention after how this all went down. Big Z made a good point here. Says all the presidential candidates were invited. RFK was there. Biden declined. That's a good point. I think I could be wrong, but I think that someone else had pointed out also that this is like a normal thing for them to do, to invite other candidates. So that's also something to take into account. VZ says, I miss the Great White Hope and can't wait until he's back. I mean, does he even count as white though? He's orange. He's orange, but that was a funny comment. If he meant it jokingly. Richard King says, MAGA jabs nationalism. Nah, I'm good, homie. I'm good. And Josenet said, now do Biden. I said, maybe this is what you're looking for, pointing to this video here. So Joe Biden, what's the true state of the union under Joe Biden, where I criticize Biden heavily for how he's been running the country. Yeah, if you guys think that I'm pro-Trump, or like if I'm anti-Trump or that I'm pro-Biden, like, watch more of my content, because that's not the case. That's not the case. This person here says libertarians hate the destruction of the U.S. too. Right, I'm not saying you don't. I'm not saying that any people necessarily, the Democrats, Republicans, or libertarians necessarily coming at politics or at Trump being like, yeah, let's destroy the country. Like, you'll hear a lot of rhetoric bordering on that on talk radio. I don't think that's true. They're not trying to destroy it. Even Trump might say stuff like this too. I don't think that I don't think that people are trying to destroy the country. They're trying to make the country better. Now, whether that actually makes the country better or whether or not that tears it down is a whole other story. But I don't like to attribute malice where, it doesn't necessarily have to be the answer. Now, here we've got this comment from the Duck of Doom. They invited Trump, RFK, and Biden. Only Biden declined. This actually brings a lot of media coverage to the party. I put that out. I appreciate him for pointing this out to me as well. The legacy media traditionally hates covering the Libertarian Party and basically inflated the Green Party from nothing in the late 90s, just so they could distract people from the Libertarian Party while still placating viewer demands for third-party coverage. Even at a time when the Libertarian Party was larger than all third parties combined, it was starting to claim major party ballot access in some states, making them a real potential threat to the Big Two. The Green Party remains a hollow shell propped up by the media. RFK's Libertarian convention speech just secured my vote. I think he's still ramping up, but Trump is near peak while Harris is starting the downslope. No way, Biden is just still in office this time next year, even if he wins the November vote. Section 4 of Amendment 25 is the obvious plan. Could be. You say some reasonable things here. Although I'm not sure if Trump is at his peak. He's nearing it, but I don't know if he's at his peak quite yet. Also, I don't know if anyone's talked about, I don't think I've heard anyone mention the Green Party except for fringe progressives on the internet and like Democracy Now! Like, I don't think I've heard anyone else. Who was it, like Jill Stein? They got the same old lady running for president like for 15 years in a row. She ain't never gonna give it a rest. Didn't she get like arrested at one of those like pro-Hamas terrorist protests too? Like, but honestly, she probably would be a better person for a lot of Democrats to vote for than Joe Biden, to be fair. Wayne Bell said Biden is lame as Trump, so do a lot of people actually. Chris Stevens said, wow, what a sophisticated comment. Yeah, because he couldn't think of anything better to say in response. Turner Ferguson says, LOL, this is why you got 166 views after 2 days. People like Trump. In fact, a lot of people do, no matter race or color. True. I'm a living testament to this because I'm black and I like Trump. Now, well, to a degree, I don't really like him as much as I used to, but I like him enough to vote for him at least. But I mean, also, hold on, let me see here. Also, like if you look at the views, actually, I got 621 views on this video. 621. Now, you have to consider the fact that I only have 64 subscribers. So my videos aren't going to go gangbusters. A lot of my videos usually get up to like just 3 views after like the first day or so. If you go to my most popular videos, like this is actually one of my biggest videos, right? The one that's above this, like it's in the top 5. Number 4 is my video about Nick Merckx, talking about how some crazy people were, well, Call of Duty got rid of Nick Merckx when basically he said he was against like the woke like gender ideology stuff, or at least he didn't want it to be pushed and propagandized on his kid. Call of Duty was like, what? You don't want your kid to be subjected to propaganda? We can't have that here. And they got rid of his skin in the video game. And then gamers, in return, started boycotting Call of Duty and decided to support Nick Merckx. So I did a video about that. It was a more critical situation where he lied about Mew Kitty. I don't think it was on purpose. He just got some facts wrong. That got me a lot of views relatively for me. This is a very early video for me where I reacted to Brett Cooper reacting to Hassan Piker. I think Hassan Piker in that reaction was reacting to Brett Cooper as well. And there's this video here. Our call for revival got tangled up with Cedarville University. Title IX protests. Cedarville University is my alma mater. I've covered them in the past here and there. Like I've talked about the Cedarville stabbing. That's the video that the Libertarian Party video just overtook. So like if there's like really big things happening at Cedarville University, I do cover it sometimes. I don't think I'll cover them as much in the future because of my age. I don't have as many connects to Cedarville anymore. But I'm not gonna shy away from reacting to them. So, but yes, yes, I have 64 subscribers. So yeah, no, my videos aren't gonna get a crazy amount of views from the jump, right? Like channel growth does not come easy. It does not come quick either. Gut Lunch says liberal doesn't mean you're a Democrat, and conservative doesn't mean you're a Republican. You could be a conservative Dem or a liberal Republican. I mean, yeah, technically you can be. Gut Lunch says being a Democrat is the same. No, actually, it's the same comment. Hold on, it's the same comment. Heath McDonald said, dude, what party was Lincoln and what was the KKK? And then, of course, more going on to the party switches. I'm not going to get into all that. So dude just said the same thing 3 times. I don't know why. I don't know why he did that. But anyways. Oh, hey.
Do your be real. Do your be real.
Wait. Go down. Wait, get down a little bit further.
Do your be real. Do your be real.
Wait, is that your... Oh, okay.
Do your be real.
Okay.
Do you...
They're silly. Well, hey, I did my be real on time, so I actually have to give them credit for busting in here and letting me know. But anyways, those are my thoughts on the Libertarian video. If you guys have any more questions, leave comments down below and I will address them, or join my Discord. It is dscrd.ntwb. It's the place you want to be if you want to chat with me. You would also influence the things that I react to and talk about. Also get updates on when I go live and all that stuff. So join my Discord as well. I would appreciate that. But that's pretty much all I got. I have to head out. I got other things I got to do for the day. I hope you guys enjoyed this stream. I know I didn't include the video. This is kind of like a very quick, not a rush job, but it's like, this is breaking news. I got to cover this type of video. So hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys another time. Yeah. Peace out, y'all.